Hi, this is Paul Flackus. I'm speaking to Doug Kisgen. Hi, Doug. How are you?
Excellent, Paul. How are you doing?
Okay, good. Doug just told me it's going to be, you're in San Antonio, Texas, is that right?
I am. It's going to be 102 today.
There we go. So do you like warm weather?
I like it better than the snow I'm used to.
Okay, because it's pretty darn hot here in New York as well. It's very humid, and it's a schwitzer here. We almost probably get close to 90 over here today. So it's a warm world, I guess you could say. So congratulations on your success here. You've created a book, Rethink Happy, I love the title here, and Entrepreneur's Journey Toward Authentic Joy. Congratulations. How do you feel about this book?
Well, I appreciate the congratulations, Paul. I feel great. I mean, it's one of those things. It's a labor of love. It's a battle, to actually put a stamp and say anything's done such as this. But I'm excited it is done and it's out.
So you've gone from early days of $300,000 debt to now speaking to me. So what does that mean? Does that mean someone that has a $300,000 debt can pull themselves out? And what do they need to do it?
If I can do it, anybody can do it, Paul. So I had the golden handcuffs, and I had the decent salary and all that kind of deal, and I got the bug to buy a business, so I did, and I moved about 3 hours away from home and with my wife and 4 kids, and forced them to, well, didn't force them, but they allowed me to do this venture, and we ended up about $300,000 in debt before it turned the corner. But at that low point, that's when I realized that there's got to be more to happiness, more to life than quote unquote success and my ego and achievement and money, and that's the impetus for the book.
So, I mean, an entrepreneur, I think there's statistics like 70, 80, 90% of America is in small business, not in big business. And that means that there's some entrepreneurial people that are running those business. And if we speak to them, and I have a little small entrepreneurial business, and I'm nuts. So how I've succeeded for 30 years, I've been unemployed for 30 years. So after corporate years, real big business, CBS and PBS. And it's not easy. So what are some of the things that we can hear from your book that are takeaways that might help someone?
Well, as we relate it specifically to entrepreneurship or small business, I think the number one thing is mentorship. I thought I could do it all myself. I thought I was supposed to do it all myself, and I didn't ask for any help, and that got me in a lot of trouble. And so as an example with this book, I literally searched on the Internet for someone who had already done it, who had already made it, who had already produced a book and a bestseller, and reached out to him and ended up forming a mentorship relationship. And it's one of the biggest reasons I got published by Morgan James, and one of the biggest reasons you and I are talking right now is simply from finding a mentor.
And I'll also say, just because I also know Morgan James, the company, and they're really a fine publisher and a supportive publisher, and especially for those that are, is this your first book?
First published book. Yes.
First published book. So they're very supportive, and that's important too. So I guess they in themselves were a mentor, as they were with me when I put together something. So how do you recharge your life, I guess, renew yourself? How do you make some changes? So say you're not where you feel you can be, besides this mentor. Is there other ways to go about it?
Oh, sure. So within the book, there are philosophical, psychological, theological principles, and one of the simple ones, Socrates said, most people have heard, the unexamined life is not worth living, but then Aristotle came later and said the unplanned life is not worth examining. So, the first step is to shut off all the diversions and all the alerts and go somewhere quiet and think and examine and say, where am I at now? Where do I want to be? And then secondly, how do I develop a plan to execute to get there? And of course, incorporate all the lives that are around me. If I'm single, then it's just me. But if I'm married, you got to incorporate the dreams and aspirations and goals of our spouses in order to really put together a solid plan that's going to get done.
So when you go away to that nirvana spot, do you bring a piece of paper with you? You bring a computer with you? What do you do? How do you go sit in the woods? What do you do? Do you do this?
I do a multiple. I do. Yeah, I do. I do multiple things. So annually, I make a silent retreat, and it starts on a Thursday evening till Sunday afternoon. Unbelievably effective way to unplug. I've been doing that for 9 years now. But otherwise, on a weekly basis, I set aside time where I turn everything off, and I literally analyze where the business is at. I have a notebook and a pen or paper. I have also a note-writing app on my iPad, my mini iPad, and so I will jot down ideas that way, and I will gauge that against goals that I've set from an annual, quarterly, monthly basis, and then I try to make sure that I'm always pushing the needle forward. Rather, there's a chapter in the book, I think it's titled something like Activity versus Productivity. It's real easy today to be so active, doing so much, and feeling like you're getting so much done, or putting out so many fires, and then at the end of the day you go, well, wait a minute, where was I really productive? Where did I actually push the needle forward? And that's the most important thing. What is the number one thing each day that'll really push the needle forward in your life?
Where do you go if, and this is not a good position to be in, but sometimes in business, we have the highs and the lows, okay? So when you have a low, you might even be really down. You might be depressed. What do you think? I mean, the same kind of outreach, a weekend away, you're really, you're wondering, I guess. You're wondering whether you've made even the right decision to be doing what you're doing.
Well, I think the first step is to understand on a micro level why am I sad. I mean, traditionally in my research, there are only two reasons: either you don't have a spiritual or transcendent or God-oriented perspective, or you're self-indulgent. You're thinking about your own needs, your own goals, your own things. And we need to do that to a certain extent. However, the minute you start thinking about, well, what does my wife want? What do my kids want? What do my employees really want? And starting to delve into what they truly want and helping serve them to get what they want, it is almost impossible to remain sad. Now, when you go into specifically, am I in the right career, which you alluded to toward the end of your question, that's a totally different ball of wax, so to speak. And that would be where my mentor, Dan Miller, wrote a book like 48 Days to the Work You Love, to take those 48 days to analyze where I'm at, what I could be doing, what could be changed or different. That's a totally different mentality. But where my book comes in is sort of this general sense of sadness versus happiness versus joy.
All right, so this is where we get the title Rethink Happy, and it goes along on an entrepreneur's journey toward authentic joy. Rethink Happy. Figure out how to rethink it? Is that a way to go?
Oh, you mean how to rethink happy in general, or what do you mean?
I'm not sure if I know what I mean. It sounded good when I was trying to say something. I was trying to make a question out of Rethink Happy.
Okay.
I mean, because I've never heard that term, okay? Rethink, in essence, how to be happy? Is that what it is in your thinking?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, here's the thing, Paul. I mean, if you look at 2,000 years of philosophy from Socrates, Aristotle, Aquinas, and even modern psychology with Seligman, who's considered the father of positive psychology, there has been this trend recently to focus on emotions, and emotions are important, passions are important, instincts are important, but the thinking aspect of happiness is what's been lost, even though there's such thousands of years of tradition in how to think better. And I mean, even little quotes like Abe Lincoln, who said most people are about as happy as they make up their minds to be. The essence is to take in the emotion, take in the fleeting pleasures, but now let's think and rethink about how we think about happy in particular, and try to put together some specific goals, some specific objectives to be more happier from a thought process and from a willpower process as well.
Since you're such I hear some real great spirituality inside of you. There was a New York Times that love is stronger than gravity. Where do you think love plays into this?
Love is the number one most important virtue on the planet, and this has been produced in numerous research articles. And the interesting thing about love, conference, and I gave a 90-minute workshop, and we spent a little bit of time on love, and I asked, what is the opposite of love? And most people say hate, and then they think a little bit more, and then they say, well, apathy or indifference. And I say, well, there's one step further, and it's use. I mean, the opposite of love is where I'm using you in order to get my pleasure or get my good or what have you, whereas love, in essence, is emotional. There's passion about it, but that ultimately it's willing. It's willing the good of the other simply because they are another human being in our life. And if we enter into relationships willing the good of the other, then that's where love, authentic love, is produced.
Doug, what do you do for a living?
I sell books. Now, I'm a consultant with Culture Index. I have my own corporation, and I am a licensee for that program. I also just started another corporation in the fitness field, which I'm literally in the throngs of hiring as we speak.
Aha. So what is Culture? Tell me about that business. What are you doing with that business?
Culture Index is essentially, I'm a personality expert. I have access to a quick survey that measures 7 work-related traits. So I work with entrepreneurs and executives to help them make good people decisions and ultimately just reach their goals, whether they want to scale it and get out of it, whether they want to scale it and sell it, whether they want to build something for their kids as a legacy. I help them make sure that the right kids get in the right spot, that they get in the right spot, and they surround themselves with the right people to help them achieve their goals.
I was going to ask you, where did you? I mean, you're a very wise man, okay, and I'm sure your book is going to do extremely well, because you do extremely well, and you're well spoken and you've thought about a lot of good things. I'm really enjoying this. Where do you think you got your perspective on life from? Who'd you get that from?
So, I'm the product of a divorced mom and dad, and my mom thankfully remarried a man I completely respect, but then also my biological father stayed in my life, and I think they both, in a sense, I got the best of multiple worlds. I had 3 mentors growing up that were all good in their own way, and I don't think by any means I've got it all figured out or I'm any better than anyone else, and in large part I'm worse, which is why I felt I had to write the book, because of some of the challenges that I've had and the mentors that have helped me in just relating those stories. But ultimately I'd say I'm certainly a product of having 3 parents who love me in their own way, and learning how they approach life, which was significantly different among the 3.
Beautiful. Okay, well, I'm going to ask you 2 last questions, and I've enjoyed speaking with you immensely here. And best of luck. The name of the book is Rethink Happy, an Entrepreneur's Journey Toward Authentic Joy. It's on Morgan James. Doug, the 2 questions I'm going to ask. First one is, what is good news for you in any aspect of your life? What would be considered good news?
Good news for me? Oh, absolutely 100% the faith. My faith and my priority of my wife, which was not my priority, either one of them, 15 years ago, and are now. I couldn't be more grateful. That's the best news I got.
All righty, I love it. So, and the last question is, we're very involved with World Peace and the International Day of Peace, which is September 21st. I'd love for you to be part of it as well, because we need everybody on the world to recognize there is 193 countries that agreed for a Day of Peace. It's a UN declared day, but no matter who declared it, we need it, and we have it. And most of the world, thank God, is peaceful. And so I've asked thousands of people, what does peace mean to them? So, Doug, what does peace mean to you?
Oh, goodness gracious. It's interesting. A fundamental component of happiness and joy, absolutely peace. So peace is everything to me, because internally, if I'm not peaceful, it affects my kids, it affects my wife. And so when you hear of war. You hear of people, getting into situations that you wish and hope and pray would never get into. It's hard to not be disturbed by it, and so peace is a critical component. I'm super impressed that this is something that's important to you and prominent for you, and I think it's just beautiful. And thanks for bringing it up and making me think about it.
Okay, Doug, big pleasure, big honor getting to speak with you. It's Doug Kisgen, I say that right, Kisgen?
Yes.
There you go. Rethink Happy, an entrepreneur's journey toward authentic joy. Where can they pick up the book?
Easy, any online retailer, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, as well as you can check out my website, rethinkhappy.com.
Beautiful. Okay, Doug, thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too, Paul. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.